Hello, I'm Dr. Jane McCartney. I'm a consultant psychologist in the UK and I'm fascinated by all human behaviour, but particularly crime. What makes them tick? What makes a killer a killer? What makes a criminal a criminal? And in this video, I wanted to look, I'm often asked about when it comes to people committing crimes, committing murders, is it nature? Is it nurture? And I thought I'd have a stab at kind of trying to answer that question. So I'm going to use as an example in this video Jeffrey Dahmer, and he's well known. There's plenty of stuff out there on YouTube about his crimes and stuff. I'm not particularly going to focus on those, but what I wanted to do was look at his nature versus his nurture and see if there's, maybe come to a percentage point and see if, what is stronger for him. In nature, I will look at things like an acquired brain injury or a brain injury from birth. I'll also look at any known mental health issues, abuse and trauma, or abuse in childhood, trauma in childhood, and a psychopathy checklist, which I'll put the details of below because there's a few little items on there and it's rare that everybody will tick every single one, but I kind of usually have the rule of thumb 4 or 5 or more, and then I would put them down as meeting that criteria. Nurture-wise, we'd look at were there family issues, problems, were there educational school issues, problems, same with work, same with relationships, same with any kind of sex problems, and just to see what we've got here. So Jeffrey Dahmer was born in 1960 to a fairly, lower middle class family, I guess. Dad was a chemist. I believe when he was younger, he was away quite a bit because he was completing his studies. Mum did something, I believe, kind of in telemarketing or admin or something like that. So a fairly, straightforward family unit. And he had a younger brother as well. So it's almost like that typical nuclear family unit. But what is interesting from the research that I've had a look at is that his parents certainly shouldn't have been bringing children into the world and certainly shouldn't have been staying together because they just didn't get on. They argued furiously. There was talk about, when I talk about the nature element of a criminal's background, there was talk about his trauma in his background was that he, at the age of 4, had a double hernia operation, and apparently he went in this sunny, charming, funny little boy, and then when he came out afterwards, that had gone. He turned into this sullen, withdrawn child. I don't really buy that. That's about the time that people will start noticing the characteristics of autism. Now, I know posthumously he's been diagnosed as being autistic, particularly on the high functioning, what used to be called Asperger's side of autism. Early 60s, this was still not a diagnosis, and the understanding of autism was still very much in his absolute preliminaries. And even if he had been taken to a child therapist and got some kind of diagnosis, it's very doubtful, because he was quite well functioning, that anything probably would have happened off the back of that. But I think there is an element of that in his inability, but I kind of make that with no capitals or anything, because he was able to socialize, and that's one of the core characteristics of autism, that you find it difficult to socialize. So I think it was probably just more a coincidence that he came out not unnaturally upset and traumatized about his hospital experiences, but thousands of 4-year-olds will go through, and younger and older will go through operations every year all over the world, but it doesn't turn them into serial killers. So I don't buy that as an actual reason for his behaviour, his subsequent behaviour. He started drinking from an early age, from about the age of 14, which was about the same time apparently he hit puberty and realised that his sexuality wasn't as he expected it to be. He was homosexual, he was gay, and we're talking about 1974 here, so we have to think about the climate and the time and what a stereotypical gay man may have been to people, and that was probably quite abhorrent to him. But yeah, he started drinking and using alcohol quite a lot from quite a young age, about the age of 14. And again, this is a nature thing, because it's like it fitted. Alcohol and Dharma went together like a hand in a glove. So that's very much from a nature point of view. Can't see much in the research. Certainly no parents seem to have an alcohol issue. Grandparents, whatever, there's not enough research to be able to say that, but I would argue that that is very much a predisposition, a genetic component to him, because it just went together so well with him. And alcohol throughout his life would play a role in him being dismissed from the army and not completing his university education and various jobs and things. So he found alcohol, or alcohol found him, and it became an issue, but it also became something that he was able to use. He realised the effects that alcohol could have on people, and that's how he got to drug people. There was elements in the research that I found quite interesting. One was that he was done for exposing himself to young kids. And again, there's an element of exhibitionism there that where does that come from? Was that the nurture type of thing? That was the thing that he was expected to do. But I think it's more, again, perhaps it's his area, but also I think it's his nature. He doesn't know how to get attention otherwise. Again, this has been very well documented, he was fascinated by death, seemingly, and how a creature of some description or another, be that a roadkill, a dead squirrel, or a person that he'd pick up in a gay club, how they would get to that death point. Now, a lot of children, I can speak from personal experience from my own children and also some of the children that I've seen clinically over the years, they become obsessed with death at about a certain age, kind of 6, 7, that kind of age, because it's a natural thing that they're doing, which is to work out stuff. You're working out a lifespan. Something lives, something dies. You're working out that lifespan. I can particularly remember one of my children saying to me, we were watching an old black and white film, and saying, is that person dead? Is that person there now dead? Because it's such an old film, they must be dead. And it's a natural thing that all or most children will go through. It's not a fascination, it's not a morbidity. They just are trying to work out that you live and you die, and how, and they've got old people in their lives, they've got grandparents, great-grandparents perhaps, and they have to work out what's going to happen to them and where they go and what goes on with them. It's not an unnatural thing. But I think Dahmer got stuck on that. And also his fascination with the workings and the dissection of animals. And perhaps he wanted to see that a dead fox that he may have found as roadkill had the same internal working organs as a dead badger or a dead cat or something. Anything that he would find, were they the same? But I think that became his obsession. And I think this is where the ASD, the autism, does come in, because a lot of autistic people, I remember this particularly with my ASD training many years ago, they become obsessed by something. And it might be that they're obsessed by train timetables or astronomy or, maps or something very straightforward, solid, and it's always going to be the same. These things don't change. Obviously, timetables change a little bit, but generally things are in black and white, and that's what autistic people like. And I'm sure a lot of you have been in situations with somebody that perhaps you didn't realise was autistic, and they will talk at you about their favourite subject. You could be trapped in the corner of a room and somebody's telling you the intricacies of the roads that they got to get to where they are talking to you. Talk to them about nuances about politics or what's going on, economics or something in the family, or family dynamics. And they can't get that. They don't get that because there's too many variables in that. They like things that are just have one thing. And I think this was Dahmer. I think his thing was the inner workings of living creatures, or in his case, dead creatures. There was this strange event that I read in a couple of bits of research, that he found a dead dog that he decapitated, delightfully, and stuck the dog's head on a stick, and also then put his body up against a fence or a wall or something. And I think that's very statement making. It's Dahmer saying, don't forget people, I'm here, I'm interesting, I'm not just that funny little kid in the shed at the back of the garden that does weird things to dead animals, I'm still here. So it's his way of kind of making sure that people knew about him. So when it comes down to the question, in Dahmer's case, was it nature, was it nurture? I would, in his case, say that at least 85%, probably a little bit more, was nature. His nurture, his background, his upbringing, he was able to influence some of it, and some of it he wasn't able to influence, such as his parents' relationship, his parents' poor relationship, his parents having another child. Apparently he was asked what he would like to name his younger brother, so that's quite a lot of inclusion and influence on a young child. So he just gave him a straightforward name, David, I believe the name was. So he just gave them a nice straightforward name. When they probably said it to him, he probably didn't give it much thought, and probably had seen something on the TV, or his classmate was called David and probably thought that's the first name that's come into my head, call him David, that's straightforward, and that's nice and simple, and that's what they stuck with apparently. But from the nurture point of view, he later on, especially when he was hanging around all the gay clubs, he created his own nurture, if you like, and his MO of getting the pickups that he would do. And again, he's a bit like a lot of serial killers. He would go for the dispossess the people that were not going to be missed instantly, and certainly not going to be missed probably in the long term, and lure them back to wherever he was. He would drug them. He was convicted for 17 murders. I would argue that he probably committed more murders, but it was probably in his workings out of how to do this and get his sexual thrills from that, because that's the other element of it. You know, there's often talk about him being a cannibal and, you know, partaking in necrophilia. When somebody's in a police station and they're having the book thrown at them and they are never going to see outside ever again in their entire life, it's often argued that they'll just say anything to keep people interested. Whether there was evidence for this or not, I don't know. I'm not dismissing it. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but we only have one person's take on that, and that was his. So yeah, he liked to control and stupefy and be in charge and be superior to his victims, but I don't think that was particularly about him having been a victim himself, which is sometimes the case. He reminds me of a UK serial killer called Stephen Port. I'll put the link above. And when I was reading the research on Dahmer, he was very reminiscent of this Stephen Port. So have a look at it and tell me what you think, where you think there's a lot of similarities there. So yes, that is Jeffrey Dahmer. Thank you so much for watching. And yep, 85% nature, 15%, you know, a little bit blurred lines between the two, nurture, which it makes him a quite unusual case, actually. If we looked at somebody, say, like Charles Manson, the difference, it would be more level. It would be a nature thing, but it would also very much be a nurture thing. Anyway, I will perhaps look at Charles Manson in another video in a bit more detail. I did the cult thing a few videos ago, but actually his nature nurture might be an interesting one to do. If there's any particular cases you would like me to look at, please feel free to put comments below. I obviously have to have a bit more about people's background and just their upbringing. So yeah, put some suggestions below. I'd be really interested to see what other people have to say. Thank you so much for watching. And if you've found this interesting, please don't forget to subscribe and to like and to hit the notification button. And please do leave some comments below as well. Apparently the YouTube algorithm loves a comment. So please feel free to put comments below. Until next time, thanks again for watching and take care. Bye.